Hi, everyone. May is National Osteoporosis Awareness and Prevention Month. And as a longtime board member of the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation, I want to help spread the message about the critical importance of keeping bones strong throughout your life. Today, I'm really happy to welcome Lindsey West to the show. Lindsey is the Chief Program Officer of the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation. We work very closely together, and she just recently announced a new initiative from BHOF that will help you and your loved ones get on the right path to building better bones. Whether you're working hard to prevent bone loss, or if you've just been recently diagnosed and you want to know what's next and what to do, or if you're working with your healthcare provider in partnership in treating and managing your osteoporosis. So this tool is really going to help everyone. It's incredible. Welcome to GRUFFtalk, Lindsey.
Thank you so much, Barbara. It's just a pleasure to be here, and it's really exciting to be part of a program to really help all of us chart a course to live well and to thrive through all stages of our life. So I'm really excited to join you today.
Thank you. And to age better. And that's what this show is all about.
Yes.
And we know that keeping your bones strong is definitely going to help us to age better, no
That's
question.
right.
Give us, I talk a lot about the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation, a lot. But please just give us an overview of what is the mission of the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation.
Yeah. So the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation, previous name was the National Osteoporosis Foundation. So some people still remember that name, or it sounds a little different. We added that longer title, if you would, Bone Health, because we want to focus even more on prevention. So as the nation's leading agency dedicated to bone health and osteoporosis, our mission it's simple on the one hand, extremely complex on the other. So the mission is to prevent bone loss and osteoporosis, to promote strong bones, as you mentioned, strong bones for life, and to reduce the human suffering around this issue and condition through our programs that focus on public and clinician awareness, education, research, and advocacy. So those are the main pillars of our work, but essentially it's all about promoting healthy bones so that we can prevent osteoporosis and prevent broken bones.
Okay, thank you for that overview. And what do you do, Lindsey, as the Chief Program Officer?
Well, I like to tell people that I have the best job in the organization. I really feel like I do. So I get to work on two main areas. One is I get to work with researchers and physicians and nurses and physical therapists and other healthcare providers to really look at the science and to see what more do we need to learn about this living tissue that we call bone, and what is the science behind how our bones are continually changing throughout our lives to really carry us through our lives with strength. And how does that science then help inform us about what is going on with osteoporosis, which the word is a big word, but essentially it means that your bones are getting thinner and more fragile and more brittle. And what is going on with that? What is changing with our bone metabolism? What's really going on? And then, of course, what can we do about it? If you're looking to prevent it, or if you're diagnosed with osteoporosis, what are the different things that we know that our medical providers can then do to help treat us? And we want to teach our healthcare providers across the country to build their expertise around bone health and osteoporosis so that they can better watch for the early signs, order the right tests, the right screenings, and then help their folks, help their patients with the right treatment at the right time, so that we can make sure that we that we can take care of patients, because we do have a care gap in this country with folks who are not diagnosed as quickly as we would like. And we don't want to wait until they have that first fracture, right? That we don't want to wait that long. And then the second area of work I'm privileged to focus on, which is really near and dear to my heart, is my background in community health and in health promotion. And so I get to work on all the programs and initiatives at the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation that focus on looking at things through the eyes of members of our communities, patients who have osteoporosis, and what are those tools and initiatives that can help all of us prevent or manage our osteoporosis to the best of our ability, and to really do that by listening to our patients and community members, and then creating programs that we hope will help.
Oh, that's it. You have a wonderful job, a very important job, and really sending that message out to so many different parts of the community. So thank you for all that you're doing, Lindsey. Okay, I did mention at the beginning of this that May is, and we're in May, May is National Osteoporosis Prevention and Awareness Month. And so we're really going to be talking a lot about all the ways that we can collectively prevent osteoporosis throughout our lifespan, and then again, of course, manage and treat it if you actually do have osteoporosis. But really, prevention is what we want to focus on right now. So what are some of the initiatives that BHOF is involved in to help promote this very important month?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. It's a great way to just commemorate and, like you said, to really amplify the message. And we're going to do that in a couple of ways this year that are exciting. So Iris Apfel, the fashion icon who's 101 years young, is one of our ambassadors. We're going to do some activities around her. We're going to offer a series of webinars. The webinars will be free and really engaging with all sorts of different physician experts and all sorts of different experts. And they're going to help us really educate our communities around things like nutrition and what kinds of exercises are the best to build a strong skeleton, to build strong bones and maintain it through our life, and how to do that safely. We're going to entertain topics around questions to ask your doctor and how to find a support group so that you can learn from one another if you have osteoporosis, all sorts of engaging topics like that. And then we're also going to be sharing stories from our Voices of Osteoporosis initiative, which allows our own members, folks that we know who have osteoporosis, tell about their journey in their own words. And by sharing that patient's story, a lot of folks really get a lot out of that. They learn from one another about, what about someone just like me, the average person, like
Right.
with all of our challenges, and how did this person manage their journey through osteoporosis or prevent osteoporosis from progressing? And then we're also going to offer a media toolkit that will make it super easy to help us all really call attention to this and get messages out through social media and other things like that. And one of the other topics we're touching on is May also happens to be, we're going to be helping commemorate Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is also May. So one of our webinars will be an expert who's going to be sharing some of the latest research around osteoporosis in the Asian American community. So a lot of different things going on.
That's wonderful. And
exciting.
everybody, there will be links to the link to access the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation website where all of this information will be. But now I'd like to get to the initiative, the tool that you've been working on, that we've actually all been working on. I was very honored and proud to participate as a caregiver, because my mom, a lot of people listening in already know this story, Lindsey, as do you, but my mom did have osteoporosis, and she fell and broke her hip, and that really caused her health to spiral downward very, very quickly. And then she passed away, within 2 years after that event. And this is something that is very near and dear to my heart. I myself have low bone density, also known as osteopenia. I discovered that only after going through menopause and then falling while walking my dog and breaking my arm. It wasn't a hard fall. It was just, I shouldn't have broken my arm given the kind of the slow motion fall that I took that day, but I did. And then for me, it's been all about prevention. For me personally, I've been doing everything in my power and control with what I eat, with my supplementation, meaning vitamin D specifically, and certainly with exercise and following all, as you called it before, the right exercises to prevent my bones from getting even weaker, because really osteopenia is like being on the fast track to osteoporosis. So I'm proud to say, so far so good. 16 years and going strong since that day I fell and then got my own diagnosis of low bone density. So I know it does work. You just have to do it, everyone. But anyway, there will be, as I said, links in the show notes. But for anyone listening right now, if you want to tune in right away, bonehealthandosteoporosis.org. Okay, so Lindsey, let's talk about that. It's a tool, and actually it's a website, and it's called Your Path to Good Bone Health. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we spent a lot of time talking with members of our osteoporosis community, caregivers like yourself, and healthcare providers and physicians, because what we're interested in looking at is we know that it can be very overwhelming and very daunting to try to learn about this condition and this disease process, because it's not as familiar as some things like heart disease or diabetes, where very complicated, but a lot of people have at least learned or listening about it. And we still have a kind of a lack of awareness, to be honest, around
Absolutely.
osteoporosis. And a lot of people just think, oh, it's just a disease of really old people and you can't really do anything about it, and it's inevitable, and it's just, older women. And that's not true. We're finding it's become, unfortunately, a common condition, oftentimes, as you mentioned, oftentimes as a result of family history, genetics, going through menopause. And then, of course, some individuals have certain kinds of diseases or medical history, other kinds of conditions, or they're on certain medications for other health issues that contribute to bone loss. And we want everybody to be aware of those things so that they can understand what they can do to prevent, as you mentioned, prevent the progression if they're starting to have bone loss. But then we also know that when people are newly diagnosed, or if they're trying to manage their osteoporosis through time, it can be confusing and scary.
Very
and,
scary.
What is this diagnosis even? What is this, right? A lot of people scratching their heads and very worried about it. But there's a lot of good news out there, a lot of great action steps. So what we did is we set out to design a different kind of website that would be more welcoming and easier to navigate and easier to understand. And we loaded it with little quick reads and podcasts and videos so that you could take it in little bite-sized steps depending on your interests and what you're trying to learn about, so that you wouldn't, we're all so busy, and it can, if you try to go through and wade through too much, it can be a little overwhelming for a learner. And we wanted to really respect that a lot of people learn in different ways. We know that, and we just want to make sure that it was welcoming to everybody, and that it really came from the perspective, again, of the person with osteoporosis, with that always in mind. And then we link very easily to other articles so that people who are ready to take a deeper dive and want to really get in there and really read about all these things can do that and find their way more easily is the goal. And so we created 3 different paths, if it would, that you mentioned. So
Yes.
we wanted to create a way that people could kind of flow through this. And again, a little at a time, stop and start, depending on, I want to learn about nutrition right now. I don't even know what kind of tests I'm supposed to get. Like, what is it you're interested in? And so we created a path, as you mentioned, for those that are really interested in learning what is osteoporosis, how might it affect me? Am I at risk? Or like you said, maybe it's a parent or a loved one who's been diagnosed and you're trying to care for them, you're trying to learn about it. Or you might say to yourself, okay, what does that mean for me? Or perhaps you've broken a bone and you're wondering, could I have osteoporosis? What's going on? I've heard it talked about. So we have that part of the pathway. And it's all about, what we, like you said, Barbara, what we have within our control, what we can do to take care of our bones and take care of ourselves and take care of our overall health. So, and then the second pathway is designed for folks who are newly diagnosed. Again, very overwhelming, very confusing. The medical terms are so big and confusing. And it's like, I have to keep learning myself about the science and the medical terms that are out there because it is confusing. And bone tissue is really fascinating, but bone metabolism is not what we talk about very much.
Right.
And people are not familiar. So we wanted to help people, take a deep breath, start learning at your own pace, figure out what questions you need to ask, what can you do at home, what can you do in collaboration and a dialogue with your healthcare provider. What is it I need to know? How can I find support?
Yes, because we do have a very large and growing support group that is hosted by Inspire. And that, I don't know if that information is going to be on this particular website, but is certainly on the mothership, if you will, the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation website.
When you click through your path to good bone health,
yes,
there are a couple of sections where it references and can link you right to those support groups.
Wonderful, because as you were saying, Lindsey, as you were saying before, much earlier, that it's so important when you're feeling overwhelmed by this new information. Let's say if you have been diagnosed and you want to know how are other people managing this, handling this, navigating this, and that's when the Inspire group really, really is so important. And I encourage everyone to really dive a little bit deeper into that tool.
I'm glad that you
very helpful
raised that, because there are support groups meeting virtually and in person.
Correct.
But some people think that a support group's not for them for some reason, or it might not be for them. And like you said, then there's the online support community you're referring to on Inspire. And it's great because people can put their questions in and hear from a lot of different people across the country to get ideas and support and exchange information.
Right.
And as you mentioned, and then within your path to good bone health, within that tool, the third pathway is for those who have had osteoporosis for a while. And this is, unfortunately, it's not reversible, but it can be managed well.
Yes.
And you can live an active, healthy life with osteoporosis, but you may have challenges, you may have questions. Things are going to change as you continue to age with your osteoporosis. So we want people to feel that they can understand that maybe their medication for osteoporosis might need to change. There may be other tests that they need to have taken again down the road to see how they're doing.
Right.
There are, we want to really emphasize falls prevention. So people that have thinner bones have to be really careful, as you were saying, about falling. And so we want to do more work around our posture and our balance and stay strong and fit.
I'm so glad you mentioned balance, Lindsey, because that's something that's not talked about enough when we're talking about bone health, because we normally just think about bone health, about what do we do about the bones themselves to keep them strong, right? To prevent osteoporosis, but what about preventing falling? One of my mantras is no fall, no fracture. And so if you can keep yourself from falling by practicing balance, so easy to do. Everyone, you should do what I do. I'll do some free weights and I'm doing them right now. If anyone who's watching this on YouTube, you see me go, my arms are pumping up and down as if I'm holding weights. And I stand on one foot as I'm doing that. Now, you may want to be close to a chair as you're doing that. just in case,
Yes.
as you're
Yes.
practicing the balance. But you can also just stand on one foot while you're brushing your teeth, standing in line at the supermarket. There are so many ways to practice balance. Tai Chi, of course, yoga, and I cannot stress that enough. Thank you for
I'm really,
bringing up that
yeah.
word balance.
Yeah, balance, posture, and agility. And that's the other thing,
Yes.
our reflexes. So as we get older, and we all get older, and we all are going to experience this, our bodies start working in different ways, and we have to stay quick and agile, and we want to maintain our balance. And a lot of times we don't realize that maybe we're starting to have some issues with this, or maybe we're helping, as you were mentioning, maybe you're helping a loved one, or you're taking care of someone, and their balance is not as great. But there are things that we can do about that.
Yeah, and you
So
can
you
make that
have
fun
to.
too. If you are a caregiver and if the person you're caring for is really up for it, you can do these balance exercises together. Be good for you, good for the person you're caring for as well.
Exactly. And my own mom also had osteoporosis, and she thrived and did great well into her mid 90s, fortunately. But I remember the day when she was surprised and alarmed that she didn't have the balance any longer to stand on one leg for very long with, one foot up. And she's like, "Oh my goodness, I'm not doing very well with it." And so she started working on it.
Yeah.
And you get better and better at
Yes, you
balance.
can.
You
See, that is
practice.
reversible.
It
Whereas
is
kind of
reversible.
building bones is a little tricky without some
Yes.
perhaps medical help. But in terms of balance, you can reverse that.
Yes,
You
you
can build
can.
on that. Yeah, thank you. Thank
Definitely.
you for sharing that story, Lindsay.
Yeah. And
So,
so those
yeah.
three paths, like we said, have all those different resources to help you find the information you need when you need it in a way that we hope will be very welcoming and more easy to understand.
Right. Again, and the back story of this is for about 2 years, maybe even longer. I'm not sure, but for about 2 years, we had different people participating from the medical community, from the caregiving community, and that was my role at that time, from the patient community, and they gave
Yes.
input together. We all gave like
Yes.
real world input is what do we really need for each of these groups of people. And the outcome is really, really wonderful. I'm so excited about this tool, and I really will work very hard during the month of May and certainly after that to make sure that people really focus on using this tool.
Wonderful.
Not that long ago, Lindsay, I had as a guest on the show a woman named Cindy Hutchins, and she is a very senior executive at the Bank of America. In fact, she's the director of financial gerontology, and she focuses on retirement and getting ready financially for retirement and the like. And anyway, some of the statistics that we covered were just remarkable. But basically, the whole message was we are living longer. We are living longer. And so you need to really think about your long-term health, of course, and wellness, but also really taking control of as much as you can at this point. And it's never too late to start, as we just talked about with your mom and the balancing right practice. But you really want to think along those lines, that you probably will live a lot longer than your grandparents did, possibly what your parents did, and you want to keep your bones strong for the long haul. That is the overriding message that she had, even though she was focused on finances, because healthcare expenses is a huge part of the kind of the challenge that many
Sure
people have
is.
as they get older when they're trying to kind of keep their funds going as long as they are. And you really want to think about that, everybody.
Yeah.
You want to stay strong and healthy with good, solid bones for as long as you can, mobile, independent, and keep those healthcare costs down. So that's a very important message. Also throughout May, Lindsay, I'm going to be promoting our BHOF, our Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation, Be Bone Strong New York City Marathon team, which I am super duper excited about every year. We started this team a few years ago. It's this year we have about 15 runners running in the New York City Marathon in November, on behalf of BHOF, raising awareness, raising funds to do programs like this, Lindsey, to do this, create tools like this for everybody to use. And I'm really excited about that too. So I know we have a lot of activity going on in May, but I just want to make sure that everyone knows that, yeah, May is super important. May, we really want you to focus on your bone health, but don't lose sight of your bone health once May is over. Please, please, everyone, keep focusing on it. So this was so incredible, Lindsey. Learned a lot about you. Certainly everyone learned more about BHOF and what its mission is, all the programs that we're doing. And of course, there are many more than you mentioned. Of course, it's ongoing. And this wonderful new tool that I really hope everyone focuses on. There will be links in the show notes and also on my website. I'll be sharing it on social media, but it's Your Path to Good Bone Health. You can Google it as well, everybody. But before we kind of end our conversation today, Lindsey, what are the 3 top takeaways you'd like everyone to remember from our chat today?
There's a couple of key things. You're right. What are some of those key messages I want to leave everybody with? One is, don't hesitate to speak up when you're meeting with your doctor to really express your interest that you want to keep your bones strong through your entire life so that you can stay active, and you want to know more about the status of your bone health. Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. And then second, like we talked about, just keep striving and keep trying to add that a bit more weight-bearing exercise, the really important strength training exercise with resistance training that a lot of people don't necessarily work into their workouts, and it's easy and fun to do, and it's so important. And then making sure you get that calcium and sufficient vitamin D, and to really congratulate yourself, even just to make a few small changes. Just keep nudging it in the right direction and we'll all get there. It can have a huge effect. And then the third thing I would say would really be that if you receive a diagnosis of osteoporosis, as we said, just, don't panic. It is a common condition many folks have, but it can be managed well, so that you can live a strong and healthy and active life with osteoporosis, as you said, in your 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond.
Right.
As you're looking ahead to that, like you said, that long view.
The long view. Keep that long view, everybody. Yes. Thank you so much, Lindsey. This was so much fun. I appreciate your time. I know how busy you are during May, especially during May. But thank you again.